The transport shuttle rattled as it approached the massive carrier floating in the darkness of space. Lieutenant Hana Kim pressed her face against the small window, watching the horizon's edge grow larger with each passing second. The ship was enormous, bristling with weapons and scarred from countless battles. This was her first real assignment, and her hands trembled slightly as she clutched her transfer orders. She had graduated top of her class at the academy. Her test scores were perfect. Her tactical simulations were flawless. But Hana knew what the veterans would think when they saw her. Too young, too inexperienced. Just another kid with good grades and no real combat time. The shuttle docked with a heavy clang. Hana grabbed her bag and stepped into the carrier's busy corridors. Crew members rushed past her, barely giving her a glance. She checked her datapad for directions to the command deck and started walking. "You the new tactical officer?" A gruff voice called out. Hana turned to see a man in his 40s with commander's insignia on his uniform. His face was weathered, and a long scar ran down his left cheek. This was Commander Taeyang Park, her direct superior. "Yes, sir." Lieutenant Hana Kim, reporting for duty. Park looked her up and down, his expression unimpressed. "You look about 12 years old. How old are you really?" 23, sir." "And you've never seen real combat, have you?" "No, sir. But I don't care about your test scores, Lieutenant. Out here, theory means nothing. Reality is what matters." He turned and started walking. "Follow me. Try not to get lost." Hana followed him through the winding corridors, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. Other crew members watched her pass, and she could see the dismissal in their eyes. The new kid, the academy graduate who had never fired a shot in anger, Park led her to the Tactical Operations Center, a large room filled with holographic displays and monitoring stations. Several officers worked at their posts, coordinating defensive patterns for the fleet. "This is Lieutenant Jiwan Lee," Park said, gesturing to a woman in her early 30s hunched over a sensor console. "She's been doing your job the past 3 months while we waited for High Command to send someone. Jiwan, this is our new tactical officer." Jiwan glanced up briefly. "Another academy graduate?" "Apparently she got perfect scores," Park said with a snort. "I'm sure that will be very useful when the Vectari are shooting at us." Hana felt her face grow hot, but she kept her mouth shut. She had expected this. The veterans always looked down on new officers. She would have to prove herself through actions, not words. Park assigned her to a secondary monitoring station in the corner of the room. Her job was simple and boring. Watch sensor feeds for anomalies and report anything unusual. It was work that could have been done by a junior technician, but Hana understood the message. She was being tested. Days passed in monotonous routine. Hana watched her screens, analyzed data, and submitted reports that nobody seemed to read. The other officers barely spoke to her except to give orders. During meal times, she sat alone in the cafeteria while the veterans gathered in tight groups, sharing stories and jokes, but Hana used the time to learn. She watched everything happening around her. She studied the tactical patterns the fleet used. She analyzed past battle recordings in her spare time. And she noticed things. Small things that others seemed to miss. On her 5th day aboard, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Crew members rushed to battle stations. Hana felt her heart race as she pulled up her tactical displays. "Vectari contacts detected," Jiwan announced calmly. "Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Count is 14 vessels. They're positioning for an attack run." Captain Minho Choi entered the operations center, his presence immediately commanding attention. He was in his 50s, with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Battle stations. All ships in the task force. Defensive formation Beta 7. Hana watched the tactical display as the human ships moved into position. The Vectari vessels were approaching fast, their formation tight and coordinated. But something felt wrong to her. The enemy ships were moving in a pattern she had seen before in Academy simulations. "Sir," she said quietly, her voice nearly drowned out by the controlled chaos around her. Nobody responded. Everyone was focused on their tasks. "Sir," she said louder. "Commander Park, I think I see something." Park glanced at her irritably. "What is it, Lieutenant?" "The Vectari formation, sir. They're using a faint pattern. The main attack will come from—" "I don't need tactical advice from someone who's never seen combat," Park snapped. "Focus on your monitoring station." Hana bit her lip and turned back to her screens. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The Vectari ships were moving exactly like they did in a classic pincer trap simulation. The frontal assault was meant to draw attention, while the real strike force came from another angle. She checked her sensors again. There, a slight distortion in space, barely visible. Ships using advanced stealth technology, approaching from the fleet's blind spot. "Commander, there are stealth ships. Quiet, Lieutenant." The battle began. The human ships opened fire on the approaching Vectari vessels. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between the two fleets. For a few minutes, it seemed like the defense was working. Then the trap sprung. 12 more Vectari ships appeared from nowhere, exactly where Hana had predicted. They materialized behind the human formation and opened fire immediately. The horizon's edge shook violently as weapons impacts hammered against its shields. "Stealth attack," Ji-Wan shouted. "Multiple contacts. They got behind us. All ships, emergency evasive maneuvers." Captain Choi ordered. The fleet scrambled to respond, but the Vectari had the advantage. 2 human destroyers exploded in brilliant flashes of light. A frigate spun out of control, its engines destroyed. The horizon's edge managed to turn and return fire, but the damage was done. After 15 brutal minutes, the Vectari withdrew, satisfied with their victory. They had destroyed 3 human ships and damaged 4 others. The task force was crippled dot in the aftermath. The operations center was silent, except for damage reports coming in from all over the ship. Captain Choi's face was grim. Commander Park looked furious. "How did they get behind us?" Park demanded. "How did our sensors miss an entire attack wing?" "They used advanced stealth technology," Ji-Wan said quietly. "We've never seen anything like this before." Park's eyes found Hana in the corner. She was still at her station, staring at her screens with tears of frustration in her eyes. "You," Park said, walking toward her. "You said something before the attack. What was it?" Hana looked up at him. "I saw the pattern, sir. I knew they were using a feint. I tried to warn you about the stealth ships." "You tried to warn me?" Park's voice rose. "You saw something and you didn't shout it out? You didn't make sure everyone heard?" "I tried, sir, but nothing. 3 ships are destroyed because you weren't forceful enough with critical intelligence." Park slammed his hand on her console. "This isn't the Academy, Lieutenant. Out here, people die when you hesitate." Captain Choi stepped forward. "That's enough, Commander." But the damage was done. Every eye in the operations center was on Hana. She could see the judgment in their faces. The rookie who had seen the trap coming, but failed to prevent it. That night, Hana sat alone in her quarters, officially reprimanded for failing to properly communicate critical tactical information. Her career was effectively over before it had begun. She would be transferred to some quiet station where she couldn't cause any more harm. She was staring at the wall when her personal terminal chimed softly. A new message had arrived, but the sender field was blank, and the encryption was unlike anything she had seen before. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a set of coordinates and a single sentence that made her breath catch in her throat. You see what others cannot. The mysterious coordinates led Hana deep into the ship's secure server system. She worked late at night when most of the crew was asleep, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she bypassed security protocols. What she found made her forget to breathe. Project Phantom, a classified military database filled with tactical doctrines that contradicted everything she had learned at the academy. Unconventional strategies, unpredictable attack patterns, methods that seemed chaotic but were actually carefully calculated to exploit. Enemy psychology.Hana spent every free moment studying the Phantom tactics. She ran secret simulations during her off-duty hours, testing these strange strategies against recorded Victari battle data. The results shocked her. These unconventional methods worked. They worked better than anything the fleet was currently using. Meanwhile, the war was going badly. News arrived daily of fleet defeats across the border systems. The Victari were pushing deeper into human territory. 3 more battle groups had been destroyed in the past week alone. Admiral De Hosung took personal command of the sector and ordered all surviving ships to rally it. Fortress Station Prometheus. The retreat was a nightmare. Victari forces pursued them relentlessly, picking off stragglers and damaged ships. Every day brought more casualties. The crew of the Horizon's Edge grew tense and exhausted. Arguments broke out. People snapped at each other over small things. Hannah kept working in secret. She discovered something crucial in the Phantom database. The Victari relied heavily on quantum communication networks to coordinate their fleets. Every ship was linked in real time, allowing them to act with perfect synchronization. It was their greatest strength, but it was also their greatest weakness. If the quantum network could be disrupted at precise intervals, the Victari coordination would collapse. Their ships would become confused and disorganized. The trick was timing. The disruption had to happen at exactly the right moments, when the enemy fleet was most committed to an attack pattern. Hana developed a complete battle plan. It required split-second timing and perfect execution. The human fleet would need to act as bait, drawing the Victari into a specific formation. Then, at the critical moment, focused electromagnetic pulses would disrupt their communications. The enemy fleet would lose cohesion just as human forces counterattacked. From unexpected angles, she tried to present it to Commander Park. She caught him in the corridor outside the operations center. Her datapad clutched in sweaty hands. Sir, I've been studying the Victari tactical patterns, and I think I've found a weakness in there. Park cut her off with a raised hand. Let me guess. You've been running simulations, and you think you've figured out how to win the war. Yes, sir. If you'll just look at the data. How did you access classified tactical databases, Lieutenant? His eyes narrowed. This datapad shows security clearance levels you don't have. Hannah's blood ran cold. Sir, I can explain. You're accessing restricted military files and developing unauthorized tactical plans. That's a court-martial offense. Park stepped closer, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper. I'm giving you one chance, Lieutenant. Delete whatever you've created and never mention it again. If you push this, I will have you arrested. He walked away, leaving Hana standing alone in the corridor with a revolutionary plan and no way to use it. The fleet arrived at Fortress Station, Prometheus battered and demoralized. The station was humanity's last major stronghold in the sector, a massive military installation bristling with weapons. Ships limped into dock for repairs. Crews transferred off to get medical treatment or shore leave. Then the Victari arrived with overwhelming force. Long-range sensors detected them 3 hours before they reached the station. The displays showed dozens of ships, maybe more. It was the largest enemy fleet anyone had ever seen. Admiral Dai Ho Sung addressed the entire fleet over the communication network. His voice was steady but grim. "All ships, this is Admiral Soong. The enemy has found us, and they outnumber us 3-1. We can't run. We can't hide. So we're going to fight. Prepare for battle stations." In the Horizon's Edge Operations Center, the mood was dark. Captain Choi studied the tactical displays with a frown. Commander Park coordinated with other ships in the fleet. Lieutenant Jiwan checked and rechecked the sensor data, hoping the numbers would somehow improve. Hana sat at her corner station, watching it all happen. She knew what was going to happen. The fleet would use standard defensive tactics. The Vectari would use their superior coordination to break through. Prometheus Station would fall. The war would be lost. She looked down at her datapad. The Phantom plan was still there. She had refined it over the past week, running hundreds of simulations. It would work. She was certain it would work. But nobody would listen to a disgraced Lieutenant Dot unless they didn't know it came from her. The Vectari fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in attack formation. Alarm klaxons blared throughout the station, and every ship docked there. Battle stations were called. The human fleet undocked and moved into defensive positions around Prometheus. Hana made her decision. Her fingers flew across her console as she wrote a program to disguise her identity. She packaged her entire tactical plan into a data file, including all simulations, probability calculations, and exact timing requirements. Then she transmitted it anonymously through the fleet network. The sender was listed as Phantom Commander. In the command center of Admiral Song's flagship, a young communications officer named Ensign Jun Kong noticed the transmission. At first, he thought it was spam or a virus. But when he opened it, his eyes went wide. "Admiral, you need to see this." Admiral Soong was a tall man with silver hair and tired eyes. He had been fighting this war for 2 years and had watched too many good people die. He looked at the tactical plan on Jun's screen with skepticism. "Where did this come from?" "Unknown, sir. The transmission is heavily encrypted. But the plan—" "Sir, it addresses every tactical weakness in our current defensive posture. It could be a Vectari trick. The simulations show success rates over 90%, sir." June pulled up the data. "Whoever created this has analyzed every battle we've fought. They know our capabilities and the enemy's weaknesses." Captain Choi of the Horizon's Edge received the same transmission. He studied it carefully, his experienced eyes seeing the genius behind the unconventional approach. It was radical. It was dangerous. It violated standard fleet doctrine in a dozen ways. But it might work. "Admiral Soong, this is Captain Choi. Did you receive the Phantom transmission?" "I did, Captain." "What do you make of it?" "I think we should use it, sir. We have nothing to lose." The Vectari fleet opened fire. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between the two fleets. Prometheus Station's massive guns returned fire, destroying 2 enemy ships in the opening salvo. But more Vectari vessels kept coming. Admiral Soong made his decision. "All ships, this is Admiral Soong. You've all received the Phantom tactical plan. We're implementing it immediately. I don't know who created it, but right now they're our best chance. Follow the protocol exactly. Timing is everything." The human fleet shifted formation. Ships moved into seemingly vulnerable positions, acting as bait. The Vectari took it, pressing their attack with coordinated precision. Their quantum network hummed with billions of calculations per second, keeping every ship in perfect sync. Then, at the exact moment specified in the Phantom plan, 3 specialized human ships fired focused electromagnetic pulses at precise points in the enemy formation. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Vectari quantum network stuttered and collapsed. Ships lost coordination. Attack patterns fell apart. What had been a unified fleet became dozens of confused individual vessels. Now, Admiral Soong ordered, "All ships counterattack." The human fleet struck from 3 different angles, exactly as the Phantom plan specified. Without their network coordination, the Victari couldn't respond effectively. Human missiles found their targets. Energy weapons carved through enemy hulls. The battle raged for 2 hours. When it finally ended, the Victari fleet retreated in disarray, leaving 15 destroyed ships behind. Prometheus Station still stood. The human fleet had won its first major victory of the war dot in the Horizon's Edge Operations Center. The crew cheered and embraced each other. Captain Choi allowed himself a small smile. Commander Park looked stunned dot in her corner. Hana watched her plan succeed with tears streaming down her face. Nobody noticed her. Nobody knew. She was just the disgraced rookie in the corner, but across the fleet, a new name was on everyone's lips. The Phantom Commander. The mysterious tactician who had saved them all. Admiral Song's voice came over the fleet network. "This is Admiral Soong to all ships. Outstanding work. I want every intelligence officer and security specialist to find out who this Phantom Commander is. Whoever they are, they just changed this war." Hana shut down her console and left the operations center. She walked through the celebrating corridors alone, a ghost at her own victory party dot in her quarters. Another encrypted message waited on her terminal. "First victory of many. But they're hunting you now. Be careful." The victory at Prometheus Station changed everything. The human fleet, demoralized and beaten for so long, suddenly had hope. Crews walked with their heads held high. Morale improved across every ship. News spread through civilian channels that a mysterious genius had turned the tide of the war. But with hope came questions. Who was the Phantom Commander? Why did they hide their identity? Where had they come from? High Command created a special task force to find answers. Security teams reviewed every transmission, every access log, every communication that happened during the battle. The Phantom tactical plan was dissected and analyzed. Linguistic experts studied the writing style. Computer specialists tried to break the encryption. Commander Taeyang Park led the investigation aboard the Horizon's Edge. He took the assignment personally, determined to find whoever had bypassed military authority to distribute unauthorized tactical plans. To him, it didn't matter that the plan had worked. What mattered was following proper chain of command. Someone on this ship accessed classified databases, Park told his security team. Someone created that tactical plan and transmitted it. Find them. Hannah covered her tracks carefully. She used techniques from the Project Phantom database to erase her digital footprints. She cleared cache files, scrambled access logs, and bounced her transmissions through multiple relay points. But she knew that determined investigators would eventually find something. Lieutenant Ji-Wan Lee began to suspect something was wrong. She was too smart and too observant to miss the small details. She noticed that Hana spent unusual amounts of time running tactical simulations. She saw the rookie reviewing battle data that had nothing to do with her monitoring duties. And there was something about the way Hana reacted when people discussed the Phantom Commander. Not excitement or curiosity like everyone else. Something else. Fear. Ensign Jun Kang, the communications officer who had discovered the Phantom transmission, had his own suspicions. He reviewed the timing of events and noticed that the transmission originated from somewhere inside the Horizon's Edge. Not from another ship. Not from the station. From their own vessel. June found Ji-Wan in the cafeteria during lunch. "Can I talk to you about something?" "Sure." Ji-Wan gestured to the empty seat across from her. The Phantom transmission. It came from this ship. He kept his voice low. "I haven't told Commander Park yet, because I'm not sure what it means. But someone on our crew is the Phantom Commander. Ji-won set down her fork slowly. Have you narrowed it down? Not yet. But I will. I wanted to talk to someone first. This person saved a lot of lives. I'm not sure I want them to be arrested. They broke regulations and accessed classified material, Ji-won said. But her voice lacked conviction. She had been thinking the same thing. The Vektari returned 2 weeks later with adapted tactics. They learned from their defeat and developed countermeasures. Their new approach distributed their quantum network across multiple redundant channels. The electromagnetic pulse trick wouldn't work twice. Human forces tried to use the same phantom tactics again. This time they failed. The Vektari were ready. 2 human cruisers were destroyed in the opening minutes of battle. A frigate took heavy damage and had to retreat. The fleet barely managed to hold their position. High Command's public statement criticized the Phantom Commander's tactics. Some admirals called for the mysterious tactician's arrest if they were ever found. The Phantom plan had worked once, but caused casualties the second time. People started asking if the Phantom Commander really knew what they were doing. Hana developed new countermeasures in her quarters. She analyzed the Vektari's adapted tactics and created solutions. But how could she distribute them without being caught? The investigation was tightening. Security was reviewing everything more carefully. She decided on a new approach. Instead of sending complete battle plans, she would leave small tactical suggestions scattered through the fleet network. Anonymous tips. Small insights. Just enough to help commanders make better decisions without seeming like coordinated. Phantom guidance. Some commanders followed the suggestions. Others ignored them as spam or amateur advice. Those who followed achieved surprising victories in small engagements. Those who ignored them suffered defeats. A pattern emerged across the fleet. Ships that paid attention to the anonymous tactical tips performed better. Ships that dismissed them struggled. Admiral soon noticed and ordered all fleet commanders to monitor the network for phantom guidance. Commander Park saw his chance to set a trap. He introduced false tactical data into the secure network and waited to see who would access it. The false data was subtle, designed to look legitimate. But it contained deliberate mistakes that would reveal themselves if anyone tried to use it. Hana almost fell for it. She was reviewing sensor logs late one night when she came across the new data. It looked genuine at first, but something felt wrong. The numbers were slightly off in ways that were hard to notice, but would be catastrophic in actual combat. She pulled back just in time, accessing the data through multiple blind relays that disguised her identity. But in avoiding the trap, she revealed something important. She showed that the Phantom Commander was sophisticated, enough to detect deception and careful, enough to avoid it. Park narrowed his suspect list to officers with advanced tactical training and high intelligence scores. That eliminated most of the crew, but still left dozens of possibilities. He interviewed them one by one, looking for nervousness or guilt. When he interviewed Hana, she kept her face neutral and her answers brief. Park studied her carefully. You have exceptional test scores, Lieutenant. Top of your academy class. Yes, sir. You understand advanced tactical theory better than most veterans. I studied hard. Sir. And yet you're stuck at a monitoring station doing basic work. Park leaned forward. Don't you feel that's unfair? Don't you wish you could show everyone what you're capable of? Hana met his eyes. I'm serving where I'm assigned, sir. Park couldn't prove anything. But his suspicion grew. Ji-won Lee was more direct. She found Hana in the ship's small gym late one night. They were alone. I know it's you, Ji-won said quietly. Hana froze on the running machine. I don't know what you mean. The Phantom Commander. It's you. Ji-won walked closer. The simulation time logs. The way you analyze data. The fact that you tried to warn us before the first battle and got reprimanded for it. It all fits. That's not proof of anything. No, it's not. That's why I haven't told Park. Ji-won crossed her arms. But I need to know. Are you helping us, or are you going to get more people killed? Hannah stopped the machine and stepped off. Her legs shook from more than just exercise. The Vectari adapted. I've developed new approaches, but I can't distribute them without being caught. So it is you. I never said that. You just did. Ji-won smiled slightly. Don't worry. I'm not going to turn you in. But you need to be more careful. Park's getting close. Before Hannah could respond, alarm klaxons blared throughout the ship. They both ran for the operations center dot. The tactical displays showed a Vectari fleet approaching. But this wasn't a normal attack force. It was massive, the largest fleet ever assembled. Hundreds of ships moving in perfect formation. But they weren't attacking. They held position just outside weapons range. At the center of their formation was a large vessel painted in ceremonial colors. A diplomatic ship. Every sensor in the fleet focused on it. Every weapon system locked on. The entire human defensive force held its breath, waiting. Then the Vectari said the transmission on all channels. The voice was translated by computer, deep and resonant. This is War Marshal Vector of the Vectari Empire. We request immediate parley with your military leadership. Admiral Sung's voice came over the fleet network. This is Admiral Daeho Sung, commanding the Terran Defense Fleet. What are your terms? We do not negotiate with you, Admiral. Vector's voice was firm. We demand to speak with the human commander known as Phantom. Only they are worthy of parley. Silence filled the operations center. Everyone stared at the displays in shock. The Vectari wanted to negotiate, but not with the Admiral, not with High Command. They wanted the mysterious Phantom Commander. They specifically requested the one person whose identity nobody knew. Commander Park turned slowly to look around the room. His eyes moved from face to face, searching for any sign of recognition or fear. Captain Choi entered the operations center, his expression grave. This changes everything. Admiral Sung is ordering an emergency command conference. Park, bring your suspect list. As the senior officers filed out, Ji-won caught Hannah's eye across the room. Her look said everything. They were out of time. The investigation was over. Within hours, maybe minutes, the truth would come out. Hannah could run, but there was nowhere to go on a ship in deep space. She could stay silent, but innocent people might be accused instead. The Vectari Empire, humanity's mortal enemy, had somehow learned about the Phantom Commander. They knew enough to request parley. They considered this mysterious tactician important enough to halt their invasion. Hannah's hands trembled as she shut down her monitoring station. She had started this to help, to save lives, to prove that her insights had value, even if she was just a rookie. Now she had attracted the attention of the enemy themselves, and she had no idea if that was a catastrophic mistake or the key to ending the war. In her pocket, her personal terminal vibrated with a new encrypted message. Just 3 words this time. Trust yourself. Confess. Admiral Daeho Sung stared at the communication display in disbelief. The Vectari fleet held position, weapons charged, but not firing. Their message repeated every 5 minutes like clockwork. They would negotiate only with the Phantom Commander. No one else. The emergency command conference filled the flagship's secure briefing room. Every senior officer in the fleet attended either in person or through holographic projection. The mood was tense and confused. This could be a trap, said one admiral. They want us to reveal our tactical genius so they can eliminate them. Or they genuinely want to negotiate, another argued. Maybe the Phantom Commander scared them badly enough to sue for peace. We don't negotiate with invaders, a third admiral snapped. They've killed thousands of our people. We should attack while their guard is down. Admiral Sue raised his hand for silence. Before we can decide anything, we need to know who the Phantom Commander is. Commander Park, report. Park stood, his jaw tight with frustration. Sir, we've narrowed the suspects to 12 officers aboard the Horizon's Edge. All have the technical skills and tactical knowledge required. I request permission to arrest all 12 for questioning. Captain Minho Choi stood as well. Admiral, I have information that may help. All eyes turned to him. Choi was respected throughout the fleet, a veteran of 30 years who had earned his rank through courage and competence. I know who the Phantom Commander is, Choi said quietly, and with your permission, I'll bring her to you. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Park looked furious. You knew and didn't report it? I had my reasons, Commander. Choi met Park's glare steadily. Admiral, may I retrieve the officer in question? Soong considered for a long moment. His tired eyes studied Choi's face, reading something there. Finally, he nodded. Bring her here. Choi left the conference room and walked through the corridors of his ship. Crew members saw his expression and quickly moved out of his way. He found Hana in her quarters, sitting on her bunk with her head in her hands. Lieutenant Kim, you're needed in the Admiral's conference room. Hana looked up with red eyes. She nodded slowly and stood. They know. They know someone on my ship is responsible. I'm about to tell them it's you. Choi stepped closer. Before I do, I need to ask you something. Can you win this war? I don't understand, sir. It's a simple question. The Vectari are requesting parley with you. If you meet them, if you negotiate, can you find a way to end this war with humanity intact? Hana was quiet for a moment. I don't know. I can see tactical patterns. I can predict enemy movements. But diplomacy? I'm just a lieutenant who's been in service for 6 weeks. That's not what I asked. Hana met his eyes. If the Vectari are offering to talk instead of fight, then something has changed. Something I don't understand yet. But yes, sir. I believe if we get the right information and make the right choices, we can win this war. Not just survive it. Win it. Choi nodded. Then let's go face the music. The walk to the flagship felt like a death march. Hana's hands were cold, and her heart pounded in her chest. When they entered the conference room, every eye turned to stare at her. She saw shock, anger, disbelief, and curiosity in those faces. Commander Park looked ready to explode. Her? She's barely old enough to vote. Admiral Sue studied Hana carefully. Lieutenant Kim, is it true? Are you the Phantom Commander? Yes, sir. Her voice was steady despite her fear. I accessed Project Phantom database and developed the tactical plan that won the battle at Prometheus Station. I also distributed follow-up guidance through anonymous channels. How did you access classified files? Someone sent me coordinates and encryption keys, sir. I don't know who. Convenient, Park muttered. That's enough, Commander. Soong stood and walked closer to Hana. You broke regulations, bypassed military authority, distributed tactical plans without authorization. Do you understand the seriousness of these charges? Yes, sir. Then why did you do it? Because people were dying, sir. I saw a way to save lives and nobody would listen to me. So I found another way. Hana lifted her chin. I don't regret it. Park slammed his hand on the table. She should be arrested immediately. But Admiral Soong held up his hand. The Vectari are requesting parley with her specifically. That means they respect her tactical abilities. That means they consider her a worthy opponent. He turned back to Hana. I'm giving you a choice, Lieutenant. Accept a field promotion to commander and meet the Vectari as our representative. or face court-martial for your actions. Decide now. Hannah felt the weight of billions of lives settling on her shoulders. She was 23 years old. She had been in service for 6 weeks. She had never commanded anything bigger than a monitoring station, but she thought about all the people who had died, all the ships destroyed, all the families torn apart by this war. If there was any chance to end it, she had to try. "I'll go, sir." Captain Choi stepped forward. "I'm going with her, and I request that Lieutenant Jiwan Lai and Ensign Jun Kang accompany us as well." "Why them?" Admiral Sung asked. "Because Jiwan suspected the truth and chose not to report it. And Jun discovered the phantom transmission, but brought it to command instead of deleting it. They both showed judgment and integrity. If we're sending a rookie to negotiate with the enemy, she needs experienced support." Admiral Sung agreed. Within an hour, Hana found herself aboard a small diplomatic shuttle heading toward the Vectari fleet. She wore a commander's insignia that felt like a weight on her shoulders. Next to her sat Captain Choi, calm and reassuring. Behind them, Jiwan and Jun checked the shuttle's systems. "I don't understand any of this," Hana said quietly. "Why do they want to talk? We hurt them in one battle, but they're still winning the war. That's what we're going to find out." Choi looked at her seriously. "Listen to me carefully. Whatever happens in that meeting, stay calm. Observe everything. Trust your instincts. You see patterns others miss. That's your gift. Use it." The shuttle approached the Vectari diplomatic vessel. It was enormous up close, decorated with intricate patterns and symbols. They docked carefully, and the airlock cycled open. 4 Vectari guards waited on the other side. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with powerful builds and skin that seemed to shimmer with subtle colors. They wore ceremonial armor and carried weapons that hummed with contained. Energy.1 guard spoke an accented but clear human language. "Follow us. The war marshal awaits." They walked through corridors that were both alien and strangely familiar. The architecture was different, but served the same purposes as human ships. They passed Vectari crew members, who stopped to stare at the humans with unreadable expressions. Finally, they entered a large chamber. At its center stood War Marshal Vector. He was massive, easily 8 feet tall, with battle scars covering his arms and face. His eyes were sharp and intelligent. He wore armor that looked ancient and precious, passed down through generations. Everything about him spoke of experience and power. "I am War Marshal Vector," he said in perfect human speech. "You are the one called Phantom Commander?" "I am." Hannah stepped forward, trying not to show her fear. Vector studied her in silence for a long moment. Then, to everyone's shock, he performed a gesture that looked like a salute. "You have earned respect, human. Your tactics at Prometheus Station demonstrated mastery we have not encountered in 70 conquered species. You want to talk because we won one battle?" Jiwan asked skeptically. "We want to talk because your commander showed us something we thought impossible." Vector's expression was difficult to read. For centuries, the Vectari have conquered through perfect coordination. Our quantum networks allow our fleets to act as one mind. No enemy has ever disrupted that coordination. Until you. He gestured, and holographic displays appeared, showing tactical data. You did not just disrupt our network through brute force. You predicted the exact moments when our ships would be most vulnerable. You understood our psychology. You turned our greatest strength into our greatest weakness. Hana watched the displays carefully. You adapted quickly. The same trick won't work twice. Precisely. You are innovative, unpredictable. These are qualities we respect in an opponent. Vector's voice grew serious. In our culture, when an enemy demonstrates superior tactical mastery, honor demands we pause and understand them. Are they worthy of alliance? Or must they be completely destroyed before they threaten us further? Captain Choi stepped forward. You're here to evaluate us. Yes, to evaluate her. Vector looked at Hana. But first, you must understand the truth. The Vectari Empire does not conquer because we desire power. We conquer because we are fleeing. He changed the holographic display. It showed a sector of space they had never seen before. Thousands of ships, but these were different. Cold, mechanical, lifeless. The Devourers, Vector said quietly. A machine intelligence that destroyed our homeworlds 30 years ago. They consume all organic life and convert it to fuel for their expansion. The Vectari Empire has been running ever since, conquering new territory to stay ahead of them. The display showed battle footage. Vectari ships fighting desperately against the mechanical invaders. The Devourers moved with terrible efficiency, destroying everything in their path. We thought we could outrun them forever, Vector continued. But they are relentless. They learn from every encounter. They adapt faster than any organic species. He looked directly at Hana. They are coming to this sector. They will arrive in 3 months. When they do, they will destroy both our species, unless we can stop them together. Hana felt ice run through her veins. You're asking for an alliance. I am offering you a choice. Join us against the Devourers, or be conquered so that our resources are not divided when the real enemy arrives. Vector's voice was hard. I do not make this offer lightly. But your Phantom Commander proved that humans possess something the Devourers cannot understand. Creativity, innovation, the ability to see patterns and break them. How do we know this is real? June asked. This could be a trick. Vector sent data directly to their shuttle's computer. Verify it yourself. Long-range sensor logs. Battle recordings. Projected trajectory of the Devourer fleet. He looked at Hana again. You see patterns, Phantom Commander. Look at the data and tell me if I am lying. The data was real. Hana spent 3 hours reviewing it while Vector waited patiently. The sensor logs were genuine, verified by the shuttle's independent analysis systems. The battle recordings showed Vectari fleets being systematically destroyed by the machine intelligence. And the projected trajectory was clear. The Devourers were coming. Captain Choi watched the recordings with growing horror. These machines fought with perfect efficiency. No wasted movement, no hesitation. They learned and adapted in real time, becoming stronger with each engagement. If this is true, Choi said quietly, then we have 3 months before both our species are destroyed. It is true, Vector said. The question is what you will do with this truth. The return journey to the human fleet was silent. Hana stared out the viewport at the stars, her mind racing. Everything had changed. The war they thought they were fighting was just a prelude to something far worse. When they returned, Admiral Soong convened an immediate emergency session with High Command. The room filled with admirals, generals, and political leaders from across human space. Everyone wanted to know what had happened at the Parley. Hana presented the data. She showed the recordings, explained Vector's offer, and outlined the threat they faced. When she finished, the room erupted in argument. It's obviously a Vectari trick, one admiral declared. They're losing the war, so they invented a fake threat to make us lower our guard. The data is verified, another countered. Our sensor analysis confirms it's genuine. Then the Vectari brought this threat to our sector. We should destroy them before these Devourers arrive. If we weaken ourselves fighting the Vectari, we'll be helpless when the real enemy shows up. The arguments grew louder and more heated. Some demanded immediate alliance. Others wanted to continue the war. A few suggested trying to flee the sector entirely. The unified human command structure fractured before Hana's eyes. Admiral Soong finally restored order by slamming his fist on the table. Enough! Commander Kim, you've seen the data and met their war marshal. What's your recommendation? Every eye turned to Hana. She was the youngest person in the room by decades. She had been a lieutenant 6 hours ago. Now they wanted her to make a decision that would affect billions of lives. We need to verify the threat independently, she said carefully. Send our fastest scout ships to the coordinates where the Devourers were last detected. If they're really coming, we'll have proof. If they're not, we'll know the Vectari are lying. And if they are coming? Soong asked. Then we form the alliance. We have no choice. The decision was made. Scout ships were dispatched immediately. But the political damage was done. Human leadership was divided. Some worlds started preparing for evacuation. Others demanded revenge against the Vectari. Trust in high command deteriorated. Admiral Soong offered Hana a choice. I'm authorizing a new position. Strategic commander with authority over joint operations with Vectari forces if the alliance moves forward. The rank carries significant authority and responsibility. It's yours if you want it. Hana looked at Captain Choi, who nodded encouragingly. She thought about everything that had happened. 6 weeks ago, she was a dismissed rookie. Now they wanted to put her in charge of the most important military operation in human history. I don't know if I can do this, she admitted. I'm 23 years old. I've never commanded anything real. What if I fail? Then billions of people die, Soong said bluntly. But if you don't try, they die anyway. The Vectari respect you. You've proven you can see what others miss. Right now, you're the only bridge we have between two species that hate each other. Captain Choi put his hand on her shoulder. I was part of Project Phantom, Hana. I've been watching you this entire time. This whole year was your final test, and you passed. You have everything you need to do this. You just need to trust yourself. Hana took a deep breath and nodded. I accept. The scout ships returned 5 days later with devastating news. The Devourer fleet was real and massive. Hundreds of machine ships moving toward the sector with mechanical precision. They would arrive in less than 3 months. The debate ended. Humanity needed allies to survive. The formal alliance was signed within a week, though tensions remained high on both sides. Hana's real work began. She had to build trust between species that had been killing each other for 2 years. Human crews refused to cooperate with Vectari counterparts. Vectari warriors considered humans weak and undisciplined. Every day brought new conflicts and challenges. Commander Taeyang Park surprised everyone by requesting assignment to Hana's staff. He found her in the tactical planning room late one night. I was wrong about you, he said without preamble. I let my prejudice blind me. You tried to warn us before that first battle, and I shut you down. People died because of my arrogance. You were following doctrine and chain of command. Hana said quietly, I was being a fool. Park looked at the tactical displays, showing combined human Vectari formations. I'd like to serve under your command, if you'll have me. Hana extended her hand. Welcome to the team, Commander. Her core team formed quickly. Captain Choi as her strategic advisor. Lieutenant Jiwon Lee handling intelligence and analysis. Ensign Jun Kong coordinating communications. Commander Park managing logistics. And surprisingly, War Marshal Vector requested assignment as Vectari liaison. I want to understand human tactical thinking, Vector explained. And I want my warriors to learn from your Phantom Commander. The joint training exercises were disasters at first. Human crews worked through improvisation and individual initiative. Vectari crews relied on precise coordination and following orders. The two approaches clashed constantly. Then forward scouts encountered the first Devourer probes. A combined patrol of 2 human destroyers and 3 Victari cruisers went to investigate. None of them came back. All they left was sensor data showing their destruction in less than 4 minutes dot. The recording chilled everyone who watched it. The Devourers moved with mechanical efficiency, analyzing and destroying the patrol before they could even mount a proper defense. Their technology was generations ahead of anything humanity or the Victari possessed. Conventional tactics won't work, Hannah told her team. The Devourers are too efficient, too coordinated. We need to combine our strengths in a completely new way. She proposed something radical. Instead of keeping human and Victari units separate, she wanted to merge them. Human tactical officers would work alongside Victari warriors. The humans would provide creativity and innovation. The Victari would provide discipline and coordination. The resistance was immediate and fierce. Both species hated the idea. But Hannah pushed forward, using her authority to implement pilot programs. She personally oversaw the integration of mixed crews, solving problems and mediating conflicts. A Victari vanguard fleet arrived early, catching the combined forces unprepared. Dozens of machine ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Fortress Station Prometheus, the same station where Hannah had won her first victory. All ships to battle stations, Admiral Sung ordered. This is not a drill. Hannah coordinated the defense from the command ship Unity's Edge, a new vessel designed for joint operations. Around her, human and Victari officers worked side by side at their stations. The integration was imperfect, but it was working. The Devourers attacked with mechanical precision. Their formation was perfect. Their targeting was flawless. Their coordination exceeded even the Victari quantum network, but Hannah had studied them carefully. She understood their greatest strength was also their weakness. The Devourers were perfectly rational, perfectly efficient. They couldn't understand or predict irrational behavior. All ships implement chaos protocol, she ordered. The human Victari fleet responded with seemingly random maneuvers. Ships broke formation without warning. Attack patterns shifted unpredictably. Weapons fire came from unexpected angles. The Victari provided the coordination that kept the chaos from becoming complete disorder. The humans provided the unpredictability that confused the machine enemy. The battle lasted 8 hours. It was brutal and costly. 7 ships were destroyed. Dozens more were damaged. But when it ended, the Devourers retreated. For the first time in recorded history, the machine intelligence withdrew from an engagement dot in the operations center. Exhausted humans and Victari stared at each other in amazement. They had done it. Together, they had achieved what neither species could do alone. War. Marshal Vector stood and performed a formal Victari ceremony. He approached Hannah and spoke in his own language, then translated, "I name you War Marshal of the Combined Fleet. In our culture, this is the highest honor we can give." Admiral Sung stepped forward as well. "And the Terran Defense Force promotes you to full commander with authority over joint strategic operations." Hannah looked around at her team. Humans and Victari working together. Former enemies united against a common threat. Commander Park stood at attention with pride in his eyes. Ji-Wan and June grinned tiredly. Captain Choi nodded with approval. "This war isn't over," Hannah said quietly. "The main Devourer fleet is still coming. We have maybe 2 months to prepare. Then we'll be ready," Vector said. "Because now we know we can win." The weeks that followed were intense. More species joined the alliance as word spread. The Tal'Vare brought their advanced shields. The Rin offered their powerful weapons. The Ketcheri provided resources and manufacturing. Everyone had heard of the human commander, who united former enemies against the machine threat. Hannah found herself representing the alliance in diplomatic meetings with species she had never heard of. She coordinated military operations across dozens of worlds. She balanced politics, strategy, and the constant pressure of knowing that failure meant extinction. But she wasn't alone. Her team supported her through every challenge. Captain Choi provided wisdom when she doubted herself. Jiwon kept her grounded with dry humor and honest feedback. June handled the impossible logistics with endless patience. Commander Park protected her from political attacks. And Vector taught her to command with confidence while respecting those under her authority. 6 months after the alliance formed, the main Devourer fleet arrived. Thousands of machine ships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the sector's edge. It was the largest force any species had ever assembled, but they were met by an even larger combined fleet. Humans, Vectari, Talvari, Rin, Katuri, and a dozen other species stood together. Different cultures, different technologies, different ways of thinking, all coordinated by the strategic genius of one young human commander. The Battle of Unity's stand lasted 3 days. It was the most intense combat in galactic history. Ships were destroyed by the hundreds. Casualties mounted into the millions. The fighting was desperate and terrible, but the combined fleet held. Hana's tactics, blending the strengths of multiple species into something greater than the sum of parts, proved superior to the Devourer's mechanical efficiency. Innovation defeated cold logic. Creativity overcame perfect calculation. When the Devourers finally retreated, the Alliance had won. Not easily, not cheaply, but definitively. Hana stood on the bridge of Unity's edge, looking at the tactical display showing their victory. Around her, her team celebrated. She allowed herself a small smile. She thought back to her first day aboard the Horizon's Edge. The dismissed rookie who nobody would listen to. The girl with perfect test scores, but no real experience. The lieutenant who was told she knew nothing about reality. Now she was Commander Hana Kim, War Marshal of the combined fleet, the bridge between species, and the symbol of what could be achieved when differences became strengths instead of weaknesses. But late that night, alone in her quarters, she still ran tactical simulations, still analyzed battle data, still searched for patterns that others might miss. Because she knew the Devourers would return eventually, stronger and more adapted. When they did, she would be ready. With her team, with the Alliance, with the lessons learned from being underestimated and proving everyone wrong. The war had changed her. But at her core, she was still the same person. The one who saw what others could not. The rookie who refused to stay silent when lives were at stake. Not only now, the galaxy was finally listening. A message arrived on her terminal. Encrypted the same way the very first message had been all those months ago. She opened it with shaking hands. Well done, Commander. But this is just the beginning. The real Project Phantom is about to begin. Are you ready? Hana looked at the message for a long moment. Then she typed her reply. Yes.